Welcome back, Cat 37 Catia surfacing class. Hopefully by now you already have an idea for your student project and may want to insert a picture to help you create your wireframe and surfacing. All right, so this is optional. You don't have to insert a picture if you don't want to, but it is helpful. So hopefully by now you have your idea and you have creative freedom to pick whatever you like for your student project. And you can start at any time. Hopefully you'll spend at least 8 hours on your student project. Some of you may really get into it and spend more than 20 hours on your student project, but hopefully you have at least 8 hours of work in your student project when you turn it in. All right, so our goal is to insert a picture. So let's say you go to the internet, you found an idea. It could be automotive related, it can be architectural related. Maybe you're into drones or something futuristic, or maybe Star Trek or Star Wars or Iron Man. I don't know what you youngsters are into nowadays, but pick an idea that you have a passion for. And hopefully you'll download a picture that has multiple views, front view, side view, rear view, top view, side view, etc. Okay, so try and pick a picture that has multiple views. Again, this is optional. You don't have to insert a picture. If you want to do something from scratch on your own without a picture, go for it. All right, so go to the internet, take a screenshot, or if you can save the image as a TIFF file, TIFF, or as a PNG, PNG, or a JPEG file. And I think also you can use a PDF file. Okay, so once you download your picture, save it into your folder, whether it's your flash drive or your Cat 37 Catia folder. You want to save the image in the same location as your new Catia part that you're going to create. So that way, if later on you want to email it to yourself, you want to email the Catia part along with the picture. So if you open it at work or open it on the computer lab, you'll be able to see the picture. You will not be able to see the picture on your Catia file if you did not insert the file along in the same folder. All right, so let's go back to our lecture. Okay, so let me go to the very last slide. So our goal is to insert pictures, right, into Catia. We do need surfaces to attach the picture to. Okay, so without a surface, I believe you can also attach it to a solid surface, but without a surface, it can be a planar, flat surface, it can be cylindrical, it can be spherical. The shape of the surface doesn't matter. Okay, so in our case, we're going to use 3 planar surfaces to insert a top view, side view, front or rear view. And we're going to use the pictures to guide us along to create our wireframe and to create our surfaces. You want to line up the pictures, all 3 with each other. You want to say that you want to have the same height. You want to line them up lengthwise. You want to make sure that the bumper or the wheel here lines up with the wheel on the top view. Same thing with the rear or front view. You want to make sure everything lines up. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so how do we insert a picture? Okay, so we need a surface to work on. Okay, so just like the surfaces you created in the impeller handout or the box handout, you need a surface to attach your picture to. Once you attach your picture, you need to go into shading with material view mode, or else you will not be able to see the picture. Okay, so first of all, you need a surface to attach your picture to, and then you need to go into shading with material view mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our surfaces, and then we will attach our pictures. Okay, so let's go to Catia. Okay, you have Catia open. This is the default product 1 assembly file. I'm going to go ahead and close it. Start from scratch. Okay, so I'm going to go into generative shape design. By the way, in our next video, I'm going to show you how to use freestyle. So if you go into YouTube and go and do a search on Catia freestyle surfacing or even Catia generative shape design, there's a lot of YouTube videos, especially for automotive. And there's also the Iron Man mask, right? Which uses a combination of freestyle and generative shape design, or one or the other. Okay, if you end up working in an automotive studio department, you're going to most likely be using generative shape design and freestyle. And some companies that have the IT department to do the programming, they'll combine these two workbenches as one. Okay, and another software that's popular in automotive car studios is Alias. ALIAS. Alias is owned by Autodesk, which owns AutoCAD. Catia is owned by Dassault Systems. Dassault Systems owns Catia, SolidWorks, iSim, and a bunch of other softwares I can't remember. All right, so let's go into generative shape design. Okay, hit OK. And a reminder, don't forget to insert a geometric set. If you don't have one, let's go to Insert, Geometric Set, right? You don't want to place your geometry in the part body. You want part bodies for solids. All right, so let me turn off my axis, and instead I'm going to turn on my default XYZ planes. Oh, I accidentally hit my tree. Let me go show. Okay, so that was a mistake. There it is. Hide the axis. Okay, there it is. I accidentally hit the entire tree. All right. There it is. We have our 3 planes, and we're going to duplicate. Let's go to the last slide. So we're going to create this surface, and this one. Okay, let's start with this vertical surface here, and we'll do our front and rear view on the surface. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so pick a surface. I'll pick one of the vertical ones. So let's pick it's up to you. I'll pick the YZ plane to create a surface on, but I'm going to create a sketch. So for your student project, you are allowed to use Sketcher. Okay, so we haven't been using Sketcher, but out in the real world, you're going to be using generative shape design, freestyle, and Sketcher, right? Okay, so I'm going to go into Sketch, select your plane, and I'm going to draw a rectangle to create our surface on. All right, so we are in Sketch. Okay, so we are in Sketcher. I'm going to create a rectangle, and I'm going to go with, instead of a regular boring rectangle, I'm going to go with the centered rectangle. So click, and I want to make sure it lines up with the vertical. There it is. See how it's lining up with the vertical? Click. And make sure it lines up with the horizontal. Click. So as you can see, it's centered with the vertical. So if I was to pull on it, see, it stays symmetrical no matter what. About that point here. Okay, let's throw in some dimensions. Okay, I'm going to just make it, I'm in millimeters, so I'm just going to go 100 by 100 millimeters. If you want to go with 10 by 10 inches, it's up to you. If you want to go with the actual dimensions of the vehicle, then find out the dimensions of the vehicle and use those numbers for your surface size or your rectangle size. I'll just go with the 100 millimeters. Once again, if you do want to be accurate, you want to actually use the dimensions of the vehicle. If you can find them on the internet or have access to those dimensions. Okay, I'll keep it simple. I'll go with the 100 by 100. Okay, so there it is, our rectangle. So now I'm going to exit the sketch. And teacher, why are you creating a sketch of a rectangle? So I can use the fill command. So this is one entity. Even though we see 4 separate lines, since it's all in Sketch, again, we are in a geometric set. I want to fill this close profile with the fill command. Okay, so remember fill, F-I-L-L, fill, right? and we're going to fill it. It's going to recognize it as a close profile. So all we have to do is select one element on the sketch. It recognizes that it's a close profile, and we can hit OK, and it'll fill it up with the surface. Ta-da! Okay, before I create the other two surfaces, let's go ahead and insert a picture now. And then we'll come back and insert our other two surfaces. All right, so let's go back to our lecture. Okay, so we have our surface, and we need to go into shading with material. Okay, so let's go back to Catia. Most likely yours is defaulting to one of these first two options, shading or shading with edges. The other one will show the fillets, the tangency. Okay, we're going to go with shading with material, or else we won't be able to see the picture. Okay, so you do need to go into this view mode, shading with material, or else you will not be able to see the picture that we are going to attach. Okay, so now we need to be able to insert our picture. Unfortunately, in order to attach a picture, you need an assembly. Yes, we need an assembly. So currently we are in a single part, right? Think of this as your resume or a syllabus or your homework assignment. You need to insert it into an assembly. Think of it as inserting your sheet of paper into a binder for school, right? A binder is an assembly. So we need to insert this into a binder before we can have access to attaching a picture. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we need to create an assembly file, again, a binder, to insert our resume, our syllabus, or our homework assignment, insert it into a binder, and then from there we'll be able to go into attaching a picture. All right, so I don't know why it doesn't allow us to attach a picture at the single part level. It has to be at the assembly level. All right, so let's create an assembly. Okay, so let's go back to Catia. Let's go ahead and give this a name before we go into assembly. I'm gonna call this the Audi. Okay. By the way, I don't know what type of Audi this is. I know probably some of you are screaming it right now saying, oh, it's an Audi so-and-so. Okay. Don't know what type of Audi it is. All right, I'll just call it Audi. Okay, I'll hit OK. Okay, so there it is. So the name of our file is the Audi. Okay, let's go into assembly. Okay, so we need to take this into an assembly. So let's go to mechanical design, assembly design. Okay, so again, think of it as going to the store, buying a binder, right? So we're going to go ahead and buy a binder to insert our Audi file into. All right, so here is our assembly. Oh, I lost my Audi file. What happened to my Audi file? Don't panic. It's okay. Go to window, and go to vertical, horizontal, or cascade. I'm going to go to vertical. And there's our part file. So on the left, we have our binder, our assembly file, which is currently empty. And on the right, we have our Audi file, which we haven't inserted our picture yet. Okay, so let's go to the top of the tree for the single file, whether it's your Audi or Star Trek or Star Wars or Iron Man mask. We're going to right click. Notice how this turns blue. It activates this window. I'm going to copy it. Notice we are in generative shape design, but if I go and click in this window, we're going to go into assembly. Okay, so we are in the assembly. As you can see, it's blue. We are in the assembly workbench. And now we can right click and paste. So we're inserting our Audi file into our binder, right? Our assembly, there it is. Okay, so you're actually going to end up having to save two files, which is okay. You don't have to email me both files when you submit your final project. You can just email me the single file. All right, so, or you can email me both files just to be safe. Okay, so I'm going to give this a name. I'll call it the Audi assembly or binder. And okay. Okay, so we have the Audi assembly and the single Audi part. All right, so make sure you are in the shading with edges. If not, go ahead and activate that view mode, shading with edges. Okay, as you can see, I am in the view mode of shading with, my mistake, shading with material. I misspoke, shading with material. All right, so now here's the entire purpose of creating a binder is to be able to go to Photo Studio. So the next step is to go to Photo Studio. So we're going to take our assembly, go to Start, Infrastructure, Photo Studio. So you need an assembly to go into Photo Studio. You need a binder. We cannot go in with a single part. We need to go in with an assembly into Photo Studio, or else it will not allow us to go in. Okay, so let's go back to Catia. Okay, so make sure you are in the assembly, right? So we're in this file. Notice it's blue. The frame is blue, letting me know this is active. Let me maximize this file. Okay, so this is the assembly. So now we're going to take this assembly and take it into Photo Studio. Now, on campus, we have access to this Workbench, Photo Studio. If you're using a student license, most likely you do have access to Photo Studio. If you're at work, most likely you don't have access to Photo Studio. Most companies will not pay extra for this Workbench. You know, why pay extra for a Workbench that you may not use? Okay, so if you don't have access to Photo Studio, I'm going to show you a different way of attaching a picture. And I'll show it I think when we insert our third image. Yeah, when we insert our third image, I'll show you how to get around not having Photo Studio. All right, but let's say you do have Photo Studio. So let's go to Photo Studio. And when I click on Photo Studio, click on it, it's going to take us to Photo Studio Workbench. Okay, so if you want to make a movie, right? You want to improve your lighting. Here we have all these icons for creating a Hollywood style production, right? If you want to play with this on your own, go for it. I don't know how to use these other commands, or I haven't used them in quite a while. The only time I've used them is inside the class, never used them out in the real world. All right, so the whole purpose of Photo Studio is to have access to Sticker. Okay, so let's go back to our lecture notes. Okay, so we need to access Sticker. Once we click on Sticker, we need to tell it where we want to stick it on, right? Our surface. Again, it doesn't have to be a planar surface. And it's going to give us the default of this Catia image, which we can later change to our, in my case, Audi image, right? All right, so let's go to Sticker. Okay, so I'm going to click on Sticker. Okay, so what's the next step? If you go to the bottom left corner, it's saying, hey, where do you want to stick this onto? Pick an object to. I believe you can do it on a solid. And we're going to pick a surface. And there's our image, right? So this is the default image. If you don't see the image, you need to go to Shading with Material. Okay, so you can manually adjust the image by pulling on the vertices, right? Notice where the area where we don't have a surface, it doesn't attach an image to it. It has to be a physical surface, or I believe a solid, in order to see the image. If it drops off the surface, it will not create an image in those areas. All right, so while we're in here, I want to show you, before I insert our image, what these rollers are for. So the first two rollers is to scale. So if I was to go to these little arrows here, we can increase the scale. As you can see, we can reduce the scale. So it's scaling in both the U and V direction. Think of this as your X and Y, or your vertical and horizontal axis. Okay, so it's scaling in both directions, the horizontal and vertical axis, labeled as U and V. You can always flip them if you want. You can flip the U, you can flip the direction, positive, and one going down instead of going up. You can also flip from one axis to another. Okay, so you do have that option. All right, so we can flip if we like. You can see we can flip direction, as you can see. We can increase the scale. If you only want to increase the scale in one direction, we can break the link and scale in one direction. So now it's only scaling in the horizontal. If you want to scale up only vertically, now it's only going in the vertical direction. Okay. If you have a clean image, you should keep the link between the two scales and keep the numbers the same. If you are using an image that it's not quite accurate as far as the dimensions, then you're going to have to play with the scale. But if you have a good image, then keep them equal and keep the link. So this is a chain link. We're going to keep the link. So if one increases in one direction, it'll increase in the other. If it increases in the vertical, it will increase in the horizontal. All right, so let's go ahead and insert our image. Oh, by the way, before we do, let's go to the third and fourth roller. That's so you can translate. One of them will translate horizontally, the other one vertically, right? You can roll the wheel to be more accurate. So you can roll the wheels. You can also rotate the image. So the last one is to rotate. Okay, you can do it manually by sliding or rolling the wheel, or you can click on the arrows or even type in. Let's say we wanted to go 180 degrees. You can type it in and then click away. All right, so let's go ahead and insert our image. So I'm going to click on this little icon here. Click on it, and we're going to insert our Audi. So again, you want to keep your picture in the same file as your Catia part. In this case, I saved it as a pink file, PNG. You can save it as or you can save your image as a TIFF file or a PDF file or a JPEG. If one of them doesn't work, one of the others will. All right, so you may want to save it as a different multiple with multiple extensions. Save it as a PNG, as a TIFF, as a JPEG, a PDF. One of them should work. All right, so I'm going to pick my picture and hit open. And it's going to replace the image. There it is, right? Ta-da! So I can manually stretch the image if I want, right? You have that option. Or you can use the rollers here. So I'm going to show the front view on this one. So let me translate this. Not horizontally. Let me go down to the next one vertically. Okay, I'm going in the wrong direction. There it is. By the way, it takes a while to get comfortable using the sticker command. So it's like riding a bike. The first few times you will get frustrated, so be patient. All right, so let me scale this up. This is too small. I'm going to scale it up. And I'm going to fill up the image of the front view. Let me use the rollers here. So you have to play with it until you get something that's accurate, right? Good accurate representation as far as orientation and size. Okay, so I want the wheels touching the bottom of the surface. There it is, right? So we have the wheels touching the bottom. I'm going to increase the image till the side mirrors hit the edges. Okay, so let me scale it up. I'm going to use the rollers. As you can see, I can roll. Okay, the more accurate, the better the easier it'll be for you to create your wireframe. Let me go vertically. Again, I want the wheels to touch the bottom of the edge. There it is. Okay, so close enough. You can always come back and fix it and hit OK. Now I want you to notice that in the tree it added the stickers branch. So you can always go back if you want to change the orientation, translate it, etc., the scale. You want to make it smaller, larger, you can always go back to sticker. And you can play around with the rollers. Once again, you can flip it, right? All right. And let's hit OK. to exit. Okay, so notice the sticker command is part of the assembly, not part of the individual part. It's part of the assembly. So again, think of your file, your part file is inside the binder, and we're actually decorating the binder, the assembly, using stickers. Okay, so there's our first image. Okay, now let's go ahead and we'll do the top view. Okay, so let's put the top view on the XY plane. Okay, so we need to create another surface, so let's go back. So I'm going to open up the CAD file, the part file, my mistake, the part file. Okay, so double click anywhere on the single part file to go from Photo Studio back to Generative Shape Design. Okay, so I'm going to double click anywhere inside the single part file. I can also double click on the surface. Okay, so double click. And now we are at the part file. So think of opening up the binder and you're scribbling some notes on your syllabus, on your homework, on your resume. Okay, so now we are back in Generative Shape Design. Okay, we're going to sketch on this XY plane. Put a rectangular sketch, just like we did on the first one. So let's go to Sketcher. I chose the XY plane. And by the way, you can rotate while you are in Sketcher, right? You can always hit normal, right? There it is, normal. And it'll rotate at 180. Okay, so let's go ahead and insert a rectangle. Oh, let me make sure the horizontal is pointing on the right, towards the right. Let me flip it again, hitting normal. There it is. Okay, so I'll make this the positive. This is positive. Okay, so I'm going to use, once again, the center rectangle. And I'm going to line it up with the horizontal axis. And line it up with the vertical. Okay, I'm going to make it 100 millimeters in height. So I'm going to use constraints. I'll turn this into 100. Okay, so as you can see, it's going to be the same length as our other surface. And for the length, let's see, I'll use, I'm going to overdo it. Let's go with 250. If that doesn't work, I can always increase it or decrease it. I'll use 250, nice semi-round number, and okay. All right, so now we can exit the sketch, exit. Okay, so we're going to use the fill command again. F-I-L-L, fill, right? Fill command. Pick the sketch. It recognizes the sketch. Sketch number 2 as a close profile, right? We get the thumbs up when we see this cyan close contour note saying it's good and okay. There we have our surface. All right, so now let's insert the picture of the top view of the Audi. Okay, so let's repeat the same process. Now we need to go back to the binder level, right? It's like we're decorating the binder. Okay, so let's double click at the top of the tree to go back to Photo Studio, and 3, 2, 1, double click at the top of the tree. So just imagine like you're adding stickers to your binder. I don't know, maybe you want to put a peace sign or a flower or your favorite football team or mascot on the binder, right? Or maybe the university you want to transfer to, right? Okay, so we're back in Photo Studio. All right, so make sure you have shading with edges. My mistake, shading with material. Watch what happens if I don't have it with shading with material, and 3, 2, 1, click. It's like, oh, where's my picture? I lost my picture. You start panicking. It's there, it's there. You just need to turn on, go to view mode and go to shading with material. And there's your picture. Ta-da, don't panic. All right, so let's insert the same picture again. If you want to have it as separate pictures, so you may have a separate file for each picture, go for it. It just happens that my file happened to have all 4 views in one file, or represented on the internet as one. If you want to break it up into 4 separate JPEGs or PNG files or TIFF files, go for it. All right, so let's go ahead and use the sticker command again, sticker. And let's pick our surface to stick it on. Okay, there it is. And let's go to this icon here. By the way, you can always go into the preview, click inside the preview, you can zoom in and out, right? Take a bit, get a better look of the image that you're trying to attach. Okay, let's go back to this icon to pick our image, which is the Audi. If you don't see your file, make sure you go to All, Show All Files. And by the way, here you have a TIFF, JPEG, if you want to filter out everything else and only focus on one type of file. But I'll just go to All so I can see all my files. Pick my pink file and open. Once again, you can zoom in and out. In the preview. All right. Oh, didn't have to make this larger than I needed. Okay, there it is. All right, so now we're going to play around with our image. Okay, so again, be patient. This can be frustrating, so I'm going to keep the link so it scales up both in the vertical and horizontal direction as one entity, right? You can always break the link by clicking on the icon. You can always relink it. All right, so let's go ahead and translate it. So I'll go to the third window here, translate it. Well, let's go to the fourth window. There it is. There's the top view. Okay, there's my top view. Let me rotate it 180. Go to the last window here and rotate it 180. So I'm going to have the front facing in this direction, the rear over here. Okay, so let's translate it. Let me go to the third one. Fourth one, translate. Oh, going in the wrong direction. Let's scale it up some more. Scale. So I'm going on the first one here. And again, we want the edges of the mirrors to touch the edges. And we're almost there. Let me just use the rolling wheel to be more accurate, more precise. There it is. And let me move it forward. Oh, yeah. Oh, wrong direction. Let's go downward. And the more accurate the position of your pictures, the more accurate your wireframe and surfaces will be. Okay, so I want the rear bumper to be touching. There it is, very close, right? I want the rear bumper to be touching this surface or close to it. Let me zoom in. I can always roll the wheel to get more accurate. Okay, just like the wheels on the first picture are touching the edge of the surface, we want the bumper to be touching the edge. There it is. And hit OK. Okay, so now we need the side view. Okay, so let's go back. We need to insert the side view now. Okay, this time I'm going to show you how to insert a picture without the sticker command. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so again, this is common if you're at work, and this has happened to me at work where we didn't have the Photo Studio Workbench, did not have the sticker option. So I had to insert a picture, find a different way. So what we have to do is outsmart Catia. By the way, if you try to outsmart Catia, Catia will beat you 99.99999% of the time. But in this case, we can outsmart Catia. All right, so what I'm going to try and do is, again, if you don't have access to the sticker command because you don't have the Photo Studio Workbench, we're going to trick it into thinking that we are attaching material like aluminum, steel, plastic, fabric, etc. But before we do, let's go ahead and insert our new surface. Okay, so let's go back to the detailed level. So let's go into the Catia part. Again, you're going to write notes on your syllabus, for example, or your resume. Double click. Or you can physically double click on the part and it should take you back to your Generative Shape Design Workbench. If it doesn't, you can always go to Start and go back to Generative Shape Design. All right, so we're already in Generative Shape Design. Let's go ahead and create our third and final rectangle. So this time I'll do it on the ZX plane. Do a sketch. Okay, there it is. So we're going to draw a rectangle. So click normal. Okay, so I'm going to fill up this area with the rectangle. This time I'll use the plain old boring regular rectangle command. I'll start at the origin at 0, 0 and create my rectangle. And I'll use the same dimensions as I used on the previous rectangles. I'll go with the 100 and 250, 100 for the vertical. And 250 for the horizontal. Okay, so exit the sketch. And let's use fill, F-I-L-L, to fill that surface. Okay, close contour, good. And okay, there's our surface. Okay, so now we have our surface for our side view. Again, if you have access to Photo Studio, then go back to Photo Studio and use the sticker command, right? Again, if you have access to the Photo Studio Workbench, go to sticker command. And if you don't, we're going to try and trick Catia. And the way we're going to do it is by using apply material. Okay, so we're going to stay at the part level and apply material to be able to insert a picture. So that's what we're going to try and do. Trick Catia into thinking we're applying material. So once again, if you don't have access to the sticker command, apply material. Okay, so let's go back to Catia. Okay, so we are still in the generative shape design workbench, right? All right, so here's apply material. Notice we don't have the sticker command in the part level or generative shape design. So let's go ahead and apply material. Pick the surface, right? And you're going to see it. It'll insert the apply material branch once we hit OK. Once we exit the command, it'll insert the apply material branch instead of using a new sticker, right? Because let's say you don't have access to sticker, we're going to try and trick it by applying material. Let's go ahead and pick the surface. And let's pick a material. So if you want to go with metal, right? If you go with the metal, it'll give us a metal finish. Let's see what we have here. Let's go with the aluminum. And hit apply. And 3, 2, 1, apply. And there's the aluminum, right? Reflects like aluminum. Cool. Let's go with something prettier. Let's see. I don't know what this is here. I have trouble reading it. Apply material. Oh, it's a brushed aluminum, I believe. Okay, if you want to go with something different, like wood, right? You want to apply wood as material, apply. Okay, so this is what's cool about apply material. It automatically inserts an image. Let me go with something different. I'm going to go with fabric. See if I can insert a fabric image and apply. Ooh, doesn't look good. Applied. Oh, there it is. That looks good. You can attach a fabric, right? Pretty cool. Okay, so pick some material, and then we're going to switch the image on Catia. Okay, so I'm going to go with the fabric. Pick any type of material you like. Make sure it looks good before exiting. Like this one, canvas, wasn't looking good. Apply. For some reason, the canvas doesn't look good, so I'm not going to use canvas, but I will use the next one, canvas 2. Apply. Okay, the image looks good. Make sure you have a good looking image when you apply material. If it gives you something weird, try a different material. All right, so I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to load it into the tree. Okay. By the way, by adding material, it will also load its properties. So if you're dealing with aluminum or steel, it will give you the properties of the material. So if you're using aluminum, it'll give you the density 0.098 inches per cubic inch, or pounds per cubic inch, my mistake. If it's steel, it'll give you the density of steel, which is around 0.2835 pounds per cubic inch. It'll give you its Young's modulus. It'll give you its Poisson ratio. So these are properties that you need if you're going to do a stress analysis. So maybe some of you have already taken the Catia Cat 33 class, where you spend 2 weeks doing a structural analysis. And depending on the material you apply, it will bring in those properties for that material. So that way you can do your structural analysis to see if your I-beam or rectangular tube or square tubing made out of steel or aluminum can handle the loads. Okay, so same idea here, but all we want is to be able to insert a picture. All right, so we're going to go back to our material. Okay, so notice we didn't attach a third sticker. We attached material, so let's go back, double click on the material. And once again, if we go to, let me show you the analysis tab first. Go to the analysis. See, it has the properties of that material. Again, if you were using aluminum or steel, it will give you, for those of you that are doing stress analysis or are familiar with stress analysis, you are familiar with Young modulus, right? Poisson ratio, the density of the material, its thermal properties, the yield strength, okay, etc. So some of you are familiar with these concepts. All right, so we're going to go to the rendering tab to change the picture. We're going to switch the picture. Go to rendering. Okay, so we're going to switch the picture on this. There's the lighting tab, and then there's the texture tab. So see the texture tab? Hey, this looks like when we use the sticker command, right? Same, it's the same wheels that we saw earlier, the same rollers, okay? Okay, so go to the texture tab. Make sure you are in the rendering tab first. Go to texture, and we're going to replace our image of the fabric. So we're tricking Catia into thinking that we want to use a different picture for the fabric, when instead we're going to insert our Audi picture. Ta-da! Right? Okay, so now we're going to, except we get multiple copies of it. That's okay. It's okay. Let's go ahead and increase. We want the side view, but the front is pointing in the wrong direction. We want to point in the opposite. So we're going to flip. I don't know if to flip the vertical or horizontal. I don't know which is the vertical or horizontal. So I'll just flip you, see what happens. Flip you. Oh, got lucky. Okay, so we flipped the direction. So pretty much instead of positive going in one direction, now it's going in its opposite direction for this axis. Okay, so now let's go ahead and increase the image. And we want to line it up so that the bumper is touching the edge over here. Okay, so let's translate. Let's go to the third and fourth option to translate. Okay, there it is. It's translating. And again, it takes patience. You have to play around with it. So roll the wheels till you get something that's accurate. We want the wheels to be touching the bottom, right? And by the way, I forgot to mention, instead of using the dimensions I used for the rectangles, I used 100 millimeters and 250 millimeters. You could have used the dimension. If you have dimensions on the image, use these dimensions, right? And just round them up. Okay, so instead of using 100 and 250 millimeters for the size of my rectangles or squares, I could have used the dimensions provided in this picture for accuracy. All right, so let's keep playing around with this. Again, you got to be patient. I'm going to translate up and down. You want the wheels to touch the floor. There it is. You want the bumper to touch this area, right? Which looks good, right? So far it looks good, looks good. Oh, it's too short. So now we need to scale it up so the bumper lines up with the bumper in the front view. So it's not long enough, so I need to increase it so it reaches the bumper in our top view. So let's scale it up a little bit more. Oh, maybe too much. So let's use the rollers to be more accurate. Translate. Oh, didn't mean to rotate. Let me type in 0 for rotate. 0 for rotate. And click away. So for orientation, I'm going to go with 0. I forgot what bump is. I don't know if bump does a rotation with respect to a different axis. I forget what it is. Bump. Let's see what happens when we bump. No. I'll go back to the default 0.3. All right, so let's keep translating. And we're getting closer. Change the scale, scale it up or down, and translate. Oh, I went back to orientation. Let me go back to 0 for the orientation. Okay, so the more accurate, the better your picture will be. So we got the right length, but oh, wait a minute, what about the height? The height doesn't line up. Oh, the height doesn't line up, right? The height's not lining up. So I need to break the scale and only scale upwards in this case, right? So you will encounter the situation, right? So when it inserted the image, it didn't quite insert it the way I wanted it to. Okay, I don't know if it has to do something with the bump. That's okay, I can always break the link between the vertical and horizontal axis and go in one direction. Oh, wrong direction. Let's go to the second one. I'm going to stretch it in one direction. Again, I want to get the same height as the front view. Okay, getting closer. Okay, let me translate upward a little bit. We want the wheels to be touching the bottom. Okay, we're getting closer, as you can see. Ooh, actually, I got lucky on this one. It takes a lot of practice. Maybe we can be a little bit more accurate, but there it is. So this is where the dimensions do come in. Maybe you want to change the dimension on the rectangle so it's touching the rooftop. So instead of using 100, maybe if I use, I don't know, 60 millimeters, then I can use 60 millimeters for this rectangle. So I know that the rooftop is touching the edge. Okay, so we can always go back and do that to get a more accurate representation of our vehicle. Okay, so that's okay. I'll stop there. We're good. Okay, so once again, notice that we went the hard way by attaching material, and we replaced the image of the material with our picture. All right, so I will be including some videos of other designers that have posted their YouTube videos where they insert pictures. They may not show you how to insert the picture, but they'll have pictures inserted, and then they start creating wireframe. They'll create their wireframe. Good starting point is the rooftop, right? You can always create a curve using splines, or if you want to go into Sketcher and use the spline command in Sketcher, you can do that. We also have the spline command, right, where you can put points in space and connect it to create your spline. Okay, and then you're also going to create a spline for the rooftop from this perspective, right? Okay, so there's plenty of good videos on how to create a vehicle using Catia. So just go into YouTube, and I will provide you with links of YouTube videos of designers creating their vehicle using generative shape design or freestyle, or a combination of both using pictures. Okay, so I'm going to end this video. But before I do, don't forget to save your work. So double click at the very top. Double click at the very top of your assembly. So that way you can save all the files, the assembly, the binder, right? And your individual file, which is the Audi. Okay, so I'm going to go File, Save Management. And so you're saving the individual file with the surfaces. And later on you'll add your wireframe and surfaces. and also the assembly, which contains the picture. So the assembly contains the pictures. Even though we did trick it on the third picture, that one is attached at the part level. The other two pictures are attached at the assembly level. Okay, so you can go assembly, Audi assembly, save as, save it onto your flash drive. And when you save, it'll auto-save the files inside the assembly, which is the Audi CAD part. And it doesn't save it until you hit OK. Okay, and hit OK, and it'll save that assembly with the CAD part and the picture, right? So make sure to, if you ever email this to yourself or you transfer this data to a flash drive or to your desktop, make sure you transfer the assembly file, the Catia part, and your PNG or JPEG file of the picture of your, if it's the Audi or another vehicle, and keep them together so that way when you reopen the assembly, it'll show the pictures, and make sure you are in shading with material. Okay, so that's the end of the video. See you in the next one.